Hi everybody. A couple months ago I made a video on James and Tata, one of the couples from the most recent season of 90 Day the Other Way. In that video, I likened these people to infants who somehow figured out how to get legally married, and as the season progressed, they only proved me right more and more. In case you didn't see that first video or you just don't watch the show, good decision by the way, I'll give you a quick recap about who these two are. James is a compulsive liar from America, and Tata is from Indonesia. She may be a human being, but I also think she counts as a sentient waterfall given how much she cries. I don't like making fun of people for getting emotional, but Tata cries in every single episode she's in, I'm not exaggerating. I can't tell if she's trying to manipulate James with her non-stop tears or if she really is just that sensitive. Anyway, in the last video I made about this couple, I left off after James and Tata moved into Tata's parents' house in Indonesia. A lot of stuff happened between then and where I'm picking up now, but honestly none of it's important enough to waste your time with. So right off the bat, James seems really out of place here. I understand that an Indonesian wedding is super different from an American one, but James does know that he's in Indonesia marrying an Indonesian woman, right? The difference in their expressions is so funny to me. Tata looks very calm and locked in, meanwhile James's shifty little eyes keep darting around in confusion.
Our entertainment tonight is called Sintren. It's our cultural Japanese tradition.
Something I've always loved about the 90 Day franchise is that you get first-hand explanations about various cultural practices that we don't have here in America. It's really a shame that Tata didn't give this explanation to James, the guy who needs it more than any of us, because he's living it. Based on how lost James is throughout the entire wedding, it's clear that Tata didn't bother telling him any of this stuff beforehand. I guess part of that blame can be put on James too, since I doubt he was curious about her culture. If he was, he'd probably know what was going on.
It is a very unique sound, to say the least.
I bet all those Indonesian people would say the same thing about traditional American music.
I'm still happy. I know that is, buddy! Woo!
I'm not sure the tones are necessarily supposed to have ever been hit by humankind.
James is the kind of guy who thinks ketchup is spicy.
A virgin girl, put her in a cage after tying her up, and then she transforms and she dances around in a trance while being possessed by an angel.
So to me, this sounds kind of crazy to have at your wedding, but if it's normal in Indonesian culture, then that's great, and I wish someone had told James about it before it was going on. I actually tried to research what this dance is and what it signifies, but I couldn't really find anything online. If anybody's Indonesian or knows a lot about Indonesian culture, I would love it if you could explain this wedding tradition to me, if it even is a wedding tradition. Maybe Tata just thought it would be cool to have a virgin get possessed at her wedding, I don't know. I don't have any clips of it, but the rest of their wedding played out fairly normally. There was one point when they had to feed each other, and James was really not into the food, but what do you expect from an American on this show? You may remember James and Tata having some pretty serious money problems. Since James refuses to learn the language, he can't get a decent job in Indonesia. The original plan was just to hang out at Tata's parents' house and make banana chips with them, but that obviously didn't work. They also had an issue with a pretty big car payment back in America that they now need to pay off while working in Indonesia. As much as Tata loves her country and hated living in the US, it's clear that she and James needed to stay in America to get their finances in order. So literally just one day after their big fun wedding, James is ready to tell Tata that they need to go back to America.
America. I'm really scared.
So Tata's crying again. The fact that she's not sobbing animatedly makes me think that these tears are more real than the others. I too would be pretty upset if my spouse wanted to force me to live in Maine, of all places.
You act like I am saying the things I'm saying about us needing to go back to the United States to try to hurt you. I wanted to give you a better life here.
In what way did James think that he was giving Tata a better life in Indonesia? Tata's happy there because it's her home country. James isn't providing that specific happiness. He didn't invent Indonesia. The only things he's done while they've been there are complain and cause problems.
How long am I gonna be there? How long am I gonna see my family again?
I can't really blame Tata for being nervous about moving to America and not seeing her family for a long time because it already happened to her before. I'm sure this is something a lot of foreigners go through on this show, and I can't really imagine how difficult it must be, so I do have some sympathy for Tata. It's also just sad to see her considering giving up her happiness in Indonesia for some gross guy she met on the internet. Is that a tattoo of a biblically accurate angel? James is gonna need that to get him through this very trying time in his life.
If we move to this state, I want like at least angel visit me there.
Just look at your husband's bicep. Seriously, I understand where Tata is coming from again, but this situation isn't that simple.
And you sponsor her for it.
Angel is Tata's favorite sister, and they were really close before she moved to America to be with James. When Tata was first getting married to James, Angel spread a bunch of lies about James to the rest of the family to try to get Tata to stay in Indonesia. Angel has also just been really rude to James even after she apologized, so naturally James is apprehensive about bringing her to America even just to visit. Tata asking James to sponsor her sister who hates him is actual insanity to me. Since they just can't make any money in Indonesia, James is ready to go back to America without Tata. And since he's James the compulsive liar, he can't leave without misleading people one more time. They have to take the train to the airport and Tata's parents are tagging along. James is saying that the reason they're taking the train is so her dad can do it because he's always wanted to. Like, was he planning on telling Tata's dad the real reason they're taking the train while they're on the train? That would really ruin things. That would be like if in the middle of the Polar Express, those hot chocolate waiters spilled it on everybody and then told him how weird it was that they were kidnapped from their homes into a Christmas train. That movie's crazy.
Sedih, marah juga.
The shot of Tata's mom telling James that he lied could be used in any number of scenes with this guy. I can't imagine that Tata's parents like James very much, especially after this giant betrayal.
Mama.
And because James doesn't care to learn the language, the only thing he can say to Tata's mom is a simple, half-hearted, "I'm sorry." I really doubt you are sorry, James. If you were, you wouldn't continue to lie to literally everybody. My bad, I forgot James has the mind and behavior of a newborn and probably doesn't understand the concept of an apology yet. Typically, when you say you're sorry, it's because you recognize that you did something wrong and you commit to not doing that thing again.
I've now hurt my family here in Indonesia. I have hurt my family in the United States.
Is James trying to set a new world record for most people lied to? The only other person who could lie to more people than James would be a politician.
Supposed to be like with each other.
Aku mau. Istriku enggak trust aku.
James, have you ever thought about why your wife doesn't trust you? Perhaps it's the incessant lying. Tata is genuinely worried that if she goes back to America with James, she'll never go to Indonesia again. Part of me wants to believe that James wouldn't be that inconsiderate and that he would try to get her back there eventually, but the more rational part of me says that James is a loser who only cares about himself, and he certainly does not want to go back to Indonesia anytime soon.
Tata nggak ikut, James jangan macam-macam di sana ya.
Realistically, who is James gonna cheat on Tata with? I don't want to get too insulting, and maybe this is partially because I'm a lesbian, but James is not that attractive, right? Plus, there's not that many people in Maine. He doesn't seem like a very good person, but I don't think he would cheat on Tata, mostly just because I don't think the opportunity would ever present itself to him.
I'm just a jealousy person, and if he's still a man, men need what they need, so.
I really hate this argument because it just reeks of internalized misogyny. James being a man is not an excuse for him to look for extramarital encounters. If he cheats on Tata, it's not because he's a man, it's because he sucks. I've been very critical of James throughout both this video and the last one I made about him and Tata. It's just easy to criticize this guy when he seems to get even the simplest interactions wrong. As I mentioned before, Tata's sister Angel is also not a fan of James, so of course they brought her on the tell-all to stir up an argument. This is reality television, that's what it's all about.
I don't know him yet.
Why didn't you try to get to know James?
Do I need to?
Now, as much as I dislike James, I don't think it's fair for Angel to automatically hate him without getting to know him. I decided that I don't like him after seeing his repeated bad behavior. Angel just hates him because he married her sister.
What kinds of things would you like to know about him?
Nothing.
Angel doesn't know it yet, but wanting to know nothing about James is probably for the best. If she makes a sincere effort to get to know him, he'll just ruin it by lying to her about everything, and our situation would be even worse. I do think it's wrong of Angel to be so anti-James immediately, but if she just pretended to get along with him for a bit, it would set him up to ruin his own image without her interference. James is horrible enough to make people dislike him on his own. It happened with basically the entire audience this season.
Do you love your sister? It doesn't seem like she truly loves her sister, because if she did, she would want to get to know the person her sister's in love with.
I agree and disagree with Shekinah. Angel hates James because in her eyes, he took Tata away from her. She loves her sister so much that she can't bear to have her so far away with a guy who really isn't good enough to warrant that move. At the same time, I think Shekinah makes a good point about Angel needing to be more involved with her sister's husband if she wants to have a good relationship with Tata. I can't believe I'm really sitting here agreeing with Shekinah the Twilight vampire right now. Side note, can you believe she said her face has no filler in it?
Don't you want to know what her life is like and what our life is like together? What did I do?
Nothing. Just be you.
And unfortunately, I have to agree with James on this one. Angel knowing James really would give her a better understanding of Tata's life in America, and maybe that would make her worry less about Tata being so far away. I can see James really dressed up for the tell-all. Bro put on his best sneakers for the occasion. It's always funny to see the range of outfits on the tell-all. Some people get so formal, and then there's people like James who show up in dirty running shoes.
Tata, do you plan to bring your sister to live with you here in the States?
To visit, yes.
In your house? With you and James?
Yes.
How is that going to work?
So for once, Sean actually asks a good question, but I don't really want or need the answer. Everyone knows that if James miraculously does sponsor Angel and she comes to visit in America, it'll be awful. Sean, keep that energy for the tough questions you need to start asking, like, Shekinah, is your face really filler-free? And Corona and Ingy, why did you waste everybody's time with a fake storyline? I'm out of clips of James and Tata, and the season just recently ended, so I'm not sure where they'll go from here. They're both back in America, so the whole other way angle of this show really went out the window, didn't it? The season had a lot of wild people on it, so I'm actually a little relieved that it's over. I shouldn't celebrate anything though, because 90 Day Fiancé is like a hydra. You kill one season and 2 more appear in its place. Season 2 of The Last Resort is supposed to air in 2 days as of recording this, which is just going to be as miserable as the first season. I'll probably cover some of that, plus whatever else you guys want to see on this channel. If there's any other reality TV shows you want me to talk about, please let me know in the comments, because I can only take so much 90 Day Fiancé before my head explodes. Thank you so much for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and I'll see you later.